Hi there, everybody. This is John Drew here from Elevated Planet.
And Jolé Gabrielle here from Elevated Planet, and we'd like to welcome you to today's show, where we're diving deeper into Yeshua and the Essenes, as well as deeper dives into stepping into our power and our greatness through meditation and moon alchemy. And John is going to tell us more about it.
Yeah, it's what I find really interesting is that as I'm going through yet more of these studies, if you like, it's starting to fall into place just how this what are we going to say? It's this transformation and metamorphosis, okay, is happening. It's happening at a stage now where we're seeing much of the density playing out, but bear in mind as well that the density gets exaggerated out of all proportion by the media because there's a lot of really good things happening as well. So always be mindful of that. But the more I dig into this work, the more that I realize that there is a path that is laid out for us. And it's fantastic because we have the opportunity to upgrade ourselves on the way to be something way beyond what humanity has been for many, many thousands of years. And this is where the show is taking us today. And I'm not really going to delay this outset for this first section because this is here to set the scene, because this is just a short section that we had from the show last week, but it's an important message from Angel Alariel to talk about the three-step process that is underway, that is designed to help us elevate our consciousness at this shift of the ages. So, it does lay the important foundations for the rest of the show. And as you'll recall, for those who were here before, Angel Alariel is one of a team of 12 angels that have been supporting the Melchizedek teachers, whichever galaxy they happen to be applying their wisdom and knowledge to. And that's been their role for undoubtedly probably millions of years. But now they have an additional task as well, which is that they are now assigned to the crystal children who are coming to the planet. So that's a really an important thing as we go forward with this journey now, to understand that that is actually the case. So, Jolé, I'm going to just go straight into that. Are you okay with that?
I think we should move along.
Yes. Let's get this first section done, then we're back live, and then we'll tell you about what to expect next. Bear with me a second.
What we are considering here is the technology of light. We know this is difficult for many human beings to understand because they are thinking of light with a small l, the common light of star systems. But this is light with a capital L, a powerful spiritual energy. The technology of light originated and structured by Metatron and applied in the development of consciousness by Melchizedek teachers throughout the universe, is a key factor in spiritual growth and transformation. The unfolding and development of consciousness depends upon this technology of light. There are a whole series of techniques, processes, and activations which apply the energy of light to human consciousness to assist in its unfolding. The energy of light and of unconditional love work together in the process of spiritual unfoldment. If you consider how this combined energy of light and love was brought to this planet, there are three main stages in that process. 1. During the Atlantean era, the spiritual leaders at that time began to focus this energy, making it accessible to highly trained initiates in the temple systems of Atlantis. 2. Jeshua in Israel anchored this energy through his collaboration with Mary Magdalene and through the initiatory process of the crucifixion. That process sent a great vertical shaft of this energy down into the earth, completing the anchoring and stabilizing this energy into the energy matrix of this planet. Once that had been done, this energy became accessible to anyone who was open to a process of transformation, focused through the heart center. 3. The crystal children will circulate this energy out into the world, bringing it into the consciousness and experience of all people of goodwill. This will make it universally accessible in a way that was not possible in the vibrational conditions of 2,000 years ago. Each of these three steps of focusing, anchoring, and circulating is a vital link in the chain, and together they prepare human beings for the great adventure of transformation and rapid spiritual growth. And this whole process of rapid growth and ascension is supported by a system of light technology. The technology of light works out in practical ways through a complex and integrated system of geometry. The encodements, which open gateways to the multiple levels of consciousness, manifest in the form of geometrical patterns. When you bring your energy field into alignment with the geometry of a gateway, this activates the encodement, enabling you to access that level of consciousness. Other geometries govern the opening of portals or energy vortexes and channels through which energy and information is transmitted across the universe. The link between energy geometry, light, and consciousness is a powerful one. As you move into the new world, this technology of light will be much better understood. The crystal children, in particular, are not only ready for this technology of light, they will be your best teachers on this subject. Many of them come from advanced civilizations where the technology of light has been taught, understood, and applied for centuries.
So this is a scene setter for the rest of the show. And there's a few things I want to draw your attention to here, because this is it's a fascinating thing. Okay, so we've got the Metatron and Melchizedek Dream Team creating this for us, this three-step process. And the second step in that process is really fascinating. Okay, so the first step was in the times of Atlantis, okay, where it was anchored and then focused in, or was it focused first, then anchored during the second step, which was the Yeshua crucifixion, which was part of this process. And what really fascinated me is that I've been getting further into the book, and there is a section which really talks about the nature of how the crucifixion was planned for many, many years before Jesus or Yeshua had his ministry. It was always intended to be this way because it was all about focusing energy and using geometry. Now, okay, so the crucifixion itself obviously is not a fun thing to think about. And, you know, Jesus did this to save the sins of the world and all that kind of stuff that religion tells us. But in reality, it was done for a very specific purpose. And I'm going to dig deeper in under the surface of that in future weeks, because I think it's really important to and fascinating, more to the point, as to how this works, because it also tells you, you know, how we are going to be able to progress and move forward as well. So, yeah, what else did I want to tell you? So this technology has been in place for at least 12,000 years, because, you know, Atlantis was like 12 to 13,000 years ago, if you take it from where we are now. So that's when that initiatory step was in place. And there's a really fascinating story that I'll talk about more after this next section, because it involves the Kaloo. Okay, that's where we're going to next within this. So we're now at the final step of the process, and the frequencies on the planet are sufficiently elevated to allow the light-conceived crystal children, who are often from advanced civilizations where the technology of light has been fully understood for hundreds of years as a minimum. Okay, so when these crystal children, so imagine this, right? There are so many children around the world who are being born now as crystal children, and they are light conceived, which means, of course, that they have that specific DNA process where you get the double strand from the mother. The man's double strand doesn't go in there. It's an imprint of his consciousness that goes into this, but the double strand effectively comes from the light, if you like. That is why it's light conception, and it allows for a higher frequency energy to come into the human matrix, which means that you can bring these elevated consciousnesses in, much as Yeshua himself was, much as Mary Magdalene was, much as Mary, mother of Yeshua, was as well, and many more over the years. So this is now going to become the norm for these crystal children who are coming in, to help us, to guide us, because they come in with that higher frequency. But the good news is that we can elevate our frequencies to match theirs as well. So in a way, it's almost like they will guide the way. We have the opportunity, because the point is made that those of goodwill, right? So as long as your vibration matches where we're heading, because I think that's the important thing to remember. You remember that Saratoga Ocean, Archangel Michael explanation of how we're going to go through this point of singularity. So basically, everything's condensing down into this funnel here, and it's getting narrower and narrower. Hence, as time speeds up, it gets more chaotic. But once you come out the other end, you're into that higher frequency, new dimensional energy. But your energy has to match where we are going. So we have to vibrate at that frequency of heart-based unity consciousness in order to be able to thrive in our new high frequency environment. So again, much of it's about getting rid of the baggage of the past, because you can't take your baggage of the past through that little point of singularity, that portal. That's why we've been given the opportunity to get rid of any repeat patterns in our lives, right? And Jolé talks about this a lot, that we all have these repeat patterns that we have to let go of, that we have to, and also the other thing is the forgiveness review, right? I think the forgiveness review, I hadn't even heard that phrase up until a couple of weeks ago, and I'm using it all the time now, because it just makes you think, okay, I need to go back and work out in my life who is it? Is there anybody that I'm hanging on to and I have not forgiven them for an action? And it doesn't mean you've got to go up to people and say, I forgive you. You just have to mentally go through this process, because the problem is that by failing to forgive, you're not untethering yourselves from the binds to that person. That's the kind of thing that doesn't go through that point of singularity. Therefore, we have to forgive. And that is one of the things that pillars, if you like, of importance that we're going to go through here. So yeah, that's something that I think is really important, shedding the old energies and patterns that no longer serve. And at the end of the day, the caterpillar doesn't know that they're going to turn into a butterfly. But I think that's the level of metamorphosis that we're going to go through as humanity, is that somehow at the end of this, we are going to be absolutely transformed. And I honestly believe that. And I'm excited for that journey. So yeah, what do you think, Jolé?
That was great, John. I love how you really broke that down, and especially with the crystal children. Now, when you were talking, what came to me from spirit was that people think, oh, it's babies, it's small children. No, we are the children of God, right?
That's
That's
right.
what
Yeah.
that's what we've learned. So we are all crystal children, and some of us are going to be activated. So when you are in a situation where someone is stepping into their power, step into your higher self and encourage that. I'm going to tell you a story. So my mother is still involved with this place that I grew up in, this religious community. And every Sunday they meet. And so there's this young gentleman there who has decided that he's one of the 12, and he's a person who is, a spiritual superhero, for lack of a better word, right? And I'm not laughing at him. It's not funny. And they have decided that this is a delusion, and they're kind of like, you're not okay, you kind of need to rethink that. But the doctrine that we learn about is you are Yahweh. You step into your power, you step into your energy, you create your own environment. If that's the case, why are we shutting that down? So as a collective, let's look to empower these children or ourselves. When somebody steps into that, say, tell your ego it's okay to take a back seat. It's okay for them to be activated, and say, okay, absolutely, I believe in you. Let's see what you got. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's see what you got here. Instead of saying you're a crazy lunatic of a strong delusion.
Yeah.
Because in order for us to activate, we have to be in acceptance of this happening. And what happens, go ping, 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 and it pings to you,
Yeah.
right? And you activate. And what does that look like? Aligning with the laws of the universe, really stepping into your purpose, letting go of the past and remembering who you are, and then boom, creating a life of unspeakable beauty. that's what we step into, right? So I want to be clear, as when we say crystal children, we're talking about from zero all the way to however long someone lives. You are a child of the universe, a child of God, and you deserve all that this universe has to offer. You're worthy, but that's a practice. And so by us listening and learning about this, what we get to do is we get to stop and say and critically think. We get to use our skills of critically thinking. Because if you're telling me I'm Yahweh and I'm telling you, okay, here I am, I'm one of the 12, then what I need is support and love. And if I am crazy, I still need the same things. So, you know what I mean? So, I mean, sometimes we do need to separate ourselves from those. But if a person has a desire, at the end of the day, let's not allow our ego to shut down something that could possibly be there to awaken mankind. Because, I mean, imagine how Noah, remember that story? And we look back on it and we go, oh my God, if I were there, I would have believed. Are you sure? Moses in the burning bush,
Mm.
Saul, who was on his ass, and we said in the school, it was like he was, um, I guess Yahweh knocked him off his ass, on his ass, and he had scales over his eyes, and he's in prison speaking to the Creator, and now we don't believe that this happens anymore. What are we doing?
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, and I think the ego thing is the important thing, isn't it? Is deciphering what is ego based and what is heart based, right?
Right.
That's the thing, and that's what we are moving away from. But yeah, it's interesting. We're all individuated expressions of the divine, right? And each
Correct.
one is equally worthy, regardless of the path they take. So you know, but it's a difficult one to get our minds around to a degree because we've been taught to be judgmental,
Yes.
and that's one of the issues that we have to overcome because judgment is not going to be the kind of thing that goes on in a higher frequency existence.
Correct. Because we want to have the space, like no one ever said that you have to interact, be around, socialize with the energies that don't agree with you. But all we're saying is make space for that. Allow for that to live, harming no one and nothing. Allow the space so that you can expand, because all of these different things are the thread. They make up the, I guess, the quilt of the universe.
Mm.
And it's a beautiful thing. And all of it has its space and worthiness. But that doesn't mean we need to intermingle with everything.
No, 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 very true. Very true. So what do you reckon? Do we sort of like move ourselves into the next
Yes.
section? Okay.
Yes.
Wonderful. All right. So now we've set the scene. So we're going to go back over 2,000 years now to the time of the Essenes. And in so doing, it also takes us back to the knowledge and the wisdom from Atlantis. So this information is aligned to help us in our transformation. And that's the beautiful thing of it. Now, you're going to be hearing from Daniel Ben-Ezra, who is an Essene, again through a past life regression. But this is interesting, right? Because as anybody who watches this channel knows, I have always been a big fan. Well, I say always. For the last few years, been a huge fan of Dolores, the work of Dolores Cannon. And, I read her work, Jesus and the Essenes, and They Walk with Jesus, as well as all her Convoluted Universe series, which are just absolutely, literally out of this world. Now, when Dolores did her, say, for instance, the conversations with Nostradamus, when she was getting through to Nostradamus through one of her clients, she could have a conversation with them, forget space and time. It was like they were in the same room together discussing, and he would explain his quatrains, and this is what went into the book. Absolutely mind-bendingly amazing because he got so many things right, including the First World War, the Second World War. It's all there. It all makes sense. And at this time, when the books were coming out, say in the late 1980s and the early 1990s, the one thing that, because people would, not take it that seriously, and understandably so, because it wasn't really part of the way that we'd been conditioned and programmed to think of things. But of course, when he very accurately got the Twin Towers disaster and the Pentagon attack on the Pentagon, then people would stop and take notice because these books had been published for quite some years. And all of a sudden, people could see there was truth in this. Now, not everything that Nostradamus saw as came true, but again, he did say that by alerting people to potential timelines, that we could get out ahead of it and prevent it from happening. And I believe that has been happening. I think that we're resonating at a higher frequency than was expected, and so we've avoided a lot of the darker things. Now, with Daniel Ben-Ezra, it's the same kind of thing as that Nostradamus conversation. The Essene Brotherhood have approved Joanna Prentice, the author, who's the regression therapist. They've approved her because they know they are speaking to somebody from the future who will need or be able to use this information to help humanity at this specific time, right? Now, it is amazing. It's a two-way conversation. It's not just somebody recounting a past life. So bear that in mind. Daniel Ben-Ezra, he is an Essene. He's a lay person. But at the same time, he is an elder of the Essene community. So, and again, the information from within the book that you will see advertised here, again, absolutely comes recommended for anybody who's curious. And with that said, I think we shall leap straight in now. So, background established, here we go.
Thanks to the work of Dolores Cannon, I knew that much of the Essene knowledge came from a mysterious people called the Kaloo, and I was interested to see what Daniel might say about them. First of all, I asked him if the Kaloo were called by other names.
They were also called the Ancient Ones and the Wise Ones. They were from a very ancient race. It is said that we also are descended from them, but I am not sure of this. The Kaloo came from far in the west. They stopped for some time in Egypt and then traveled on to our land and beyond. But their original land was far away. We call it the Old Land in the West. This was once a very large land, and there were islands in the main body of it. There were many people in this great land, and the Kaloo were only one of these races. Eventually, parts of the land began to sink into the ocean, many thousands of years before my time. The Kaloo saw that their land was sinking and went by ship to Egypt, although some went farther to the east. They had great wisdom and were most skillful in the making of things, like the jars that gave light without fire. Many of the precious things which the Essenes had were passed down by the Kaloo. There would have been skilled craftspeople who made and repaired such things at the height of the Kaloo civilization in the Old Land in the West, but centuries had passed since some of these things were made. I think the Kaloo who visited us were mainly messengers and teachers, not skilled craftsmen, so they could not tell us how to repair these things when they ceased to function.
Did the Kaloo gather in one place?
No. They were scattered and became wanderers. They traveled all the time, and this was their protection. Before any could become too curious about them, they would have moved on.
Were the Kaloo a dying race then?
Yes, a dying race. As far as the mass of Jewish people were concerned, this was a race of distant myth and legend which was now dead. And that was a good thought to foster, as the Kaloo did not wish anyone to be looking for them. Those ones in positions of power would have liked to gain the knowledge of the Kaloo, for it would have made them still more powerful. So it was important to spread the idea that the Kaloo were an ancient race, now long dead.
And the Kaloo gave their knowledge to the Essenes.
Yes, because they knew we would not misuse it. Those who first gathered to set up our communities had peace as their aim. So when the Kaloo first founded our order, they knew the knowledge would be in safe hands.
How did the Kaloo store their knowledge?
Both in crystals and in scrolls. The crystals were secret, and most Essenes saw only the scrolls which had been copied by our people.
Were you able to talk to any of the Kaloo and have discussions with them?
I talked to them when they came to us, but they were a law unto themselves, and so far beyond us that we revered them as holy beings. Their race was most ancient and most revered. Just a few last remnants of this dying race could be found in my day, a few scattered wanderers upon the face of the earth. We did not know from whence they came or whither they went. They came from time to time and visited our communities to encourage us and see how the knowledge was being stored and passed on.
Did the Kaloo also visit the Druids in Britain?
I believe so. My friend Joseph told me the Druids recognized the Kaloo, but by a different name. Different branches of this one great family might call them by different names, but they were the same beings, the same messengers, the same weary travelers connecting all these scattered ones, these ones who held the knowledge. Joseph told me that sometimes he would meet the Kaloo in his travels, for they were linking with the same places, the same communities, and safe places where there were people who thought as we did.
Did the Kaloo ever intermarry with the Essenes?
No, they kept themselves apart. They gave us their gifts and came to see how we used those gifts from time to time, but they were on a different level from us. They were masters in dealing with consciousness and energy in most subtle and complex ways. We respected and preserved carefully what they gave us, but we could never really understand them.
So in the end, the Kaloo were a mystery, even to the Essenes who were lucky enough to meet them from time to time. If the Kaloo were an Atlantean people, they would have been ancient indeed, even 2,000 years ago. The date normally assigned to the sinking of the last fragment of the Atlantean continent is around 9600 BCE. If the Kaloo were Atlanteans, that would account for their very advanced technology, including the use of crystals, and for the depth of their wisdom. The Essenes were fortunate indeed to have such teachers and benefactors as these. Did the Essenes share similar beliefs? Did they all have the same perception of God, for example?
You must realize that the Kaloo taught us that there are many perceptions of the divine and many paths to God. I have already talked of the four main strands which made up the Essene way. These strands gave us a broad and universal understanding that went far beyond the bounds of any one religion. Those who decided to become priests followed a more intense and restricted way, focusing upon Yahweh. But the lay brothers, such as I, were much more free in how we chose to pursue our spiritual path. All Essenes shared a great reverence for angels, and especially for the Elohim, very high angelic beings who stand above the level of archangel. The Elohim we saw as filling their places by reason of merit, and not through being created great. We saw them as rising upwards from lesser angels or from the equivalent of human beings, through great ages of cosmic development until they reached that high level. Though there are many ways of perceiving God, I found the symbolism of light most helpful. I saw human beings as children of the light, dwelling perhaps for a while in the shadow of darkness, but coming home at last into the light which is their birthright and their destiny. For in the heart of every human being burns the light of God's presence. And so at the deepest level we are light, and returning to light is returning to our own fundamental nature. Even though a human being may have fallen into error, still the essence of God within longs for the light. And forgiveness and love are the ways in which light expresses itself within our lives and teaches us how to grow ever closer to God. God manifests as the light which illuminates our path, and as the Spirit within, which makes our inner development possible. As we live in joy and harmony and love, we live in the nature of God, and the light steadily expands within us. This expansion of the light anchors us in the true nature of our being. It nourishes us and allows us to unfold our talents and abilities as children of the light. Walking in the Spirit and inspired by the light, we become expressions of God upon earth. As Spirit merges with matter in us, we complete our task here and prepare to ascend to the spiritual realms.
This is some of the most remarkable material that Daniel gave us. It places the teachings of Jesus firmly within a framework of Essene belief. The emphasis upon love and forgiveness and the Spirit are all here. Even the parable of the prodigal son is echoed in the words, "The essence of God within longs for the light." The section on the Elohim was also a key passage in helping us to see the Essenes as a whole. From this, we realize that they saw the universe as one vast meritocracy. That may not seem so dramatic to us, but we live in a very different and more democratic times. Having these beliefs, it is not surprising that the Essenes set up their communities in such a tolerant and merit-oriented way. However, to do so would have brought them into conflict with the rigid hierarchical society of their day. The Essenes were remarkably consistent. Their lives and social structures flowed naturally from their beliefs. This whole statement gave us the strange feeling that time was being transcended here, and that the Essenes were speaking to us directly in a way which has remarkable relevance for our life here and now. This feeling was reinforced when I asked Daniel about the brotherhood. Was the Essene brotherhood in touch with other orders or ancient brotherhoods?
Of course. That is why Essenes could move safely from our land to distant places. For example, up through all the Celtic lands to Britain. Whatever order you belong to, at the highest level all orders become one, as the sides of the pyramid merge into a single point. All sages are of one heart, knowing that all life is one, and that all human beings share the same origin as children of the light, and the same goal, to merge with that light. We saw the triumph of the light as something that must come, perhaps not for many years, or even many centuries. But however long it takes, we saw the triumph of the light, the victory of God and of love and truth, as sure and certain as the rising of the sun. All flows from the Spirit and from the light. We are children of the light, children of God, and light is our source, our goal, and our destiny. This view of things has become central to my life and was arrived at through study, discussion, reflection, and attunement over many years. When I saw that this had become so important for me, I fashioned a form of words to reflect it. I believe in the universe around me and in the presence within. I believe in the power of the Spirit. I believe in the triumph of the light. This is what I believe in. This is where I stand.
And do the Essenes as a whole believe in this?
I can only speak for myself, as each one can only speak for themselves. We enforce no common belief, no orthodoxy, and each one is free to choose their own perception of the divine. Indeed, each one has the responsibility of finding their own pathway to God. The heart can help us, can guide us, but no conformity of belief can direct our footsteps to the light. Yes, there are universal meeting points within the Essene tradition, the Heavenly Father and the Earthly Mother and the overarching peace. That is the foundation, but what each one builds upon this foundation is an individual choice. I have made my choice. This is where I stand.
You say that all life is one, but how do the Pharisees, the sons of darkness, fit into this?
I see all human beings as children of the light, sons and daughters of God. Some have chosen to move away from the light and become sons of darkness, but this is only for a moment or two in the eternity of God. When these sons of darkness turn again to the light, they will fulfill their destiny as children of the light. And love and peace will embrace them as surely as it embraces each and every one of us. God never turns away and rejects us, even if we choose to turn our faces from the light. And when we return to the light, there is great rejoicing amongst the angels.
So I thought one of the most important messages of all this is the recognition that we are all children of the light, regardless of whether we are here to play out a dark role or, heading towards the light. That is so important at this time because you don't have to look far, particularly if you look towards the media, to realize the ones who are here to play the darker roles. It's all fulfilling a purpose. Everyone is of equal value and everyone is a child of the light. So I honestly, to me, absolutely makes sense. I love that. I also love the fact that the Essenes got to find their own pathway. That they could do their own studying. There was no doctrine to follow. They could decide on what they truly believed worked for them. And again, I think that is our future as well. Is not to be preached at by somebody who tells you this is the answer. It's actually, and again, it's like with us. All we do is we share our truth, but we don't ever ask anybody to accept our truth at face value. It's how it resonates with you. Does it sound like truth? Does it sound like deluded nonsense? Well, that's up to you to decide, because this is your journey. We're all unique expressions of the divine. So it just makes it all so exciting. Now, one of the things that really interested me about this passage as well, with the Kaloo, assuming that they are from Atlantis, which I firmly believe they are, because it makes sense, right? We know that the first step, that initiatory step of the process, was to focus the light, technology of light, in a certain way that began this three-step process. That began at a time of Atlantis. Now, if we say that that was 12,000 years ago was the demise of Atlantis, so it has to be over 12,000 years. Who knows? It could be significantly longer than that. But that initiatory step took place. I strongly suspect that the people who were behind that initiatory step, those high priests and initiates who were on that journey, were the Kaloo. And they knew enough to know when to exit, when to head to Egypt, to go to Egypt, and then to spread the word around those who were ready to hear it. Again, establishing the Essenes and giving them the knowledge and the wisdom, because they had the responsibility, and they were switched off from the ego. They were in the heart. They would carry this information forward, and they would guard it very carefully. So that is how that came to be. Now, it was interesting because Joseph of Arimathea was a good friend of our friend Daniel, right? Daniel Ben-Ezra, forgot his name there for a moment. Sorry, Daniel. But Joseph of Arimathea was a very good friend. They'd grown up together. And Joseph of Arimathea was the uncle of Jesus. So and he was the one who took the body after the crucifixion and put it into his sepulchre. And anyway, we all know the story, right? So he was one of the wealthiest men in the world. He had a fleet of ships, and he was a merchant. And his main thing that he used to work with was he used to export tin from England, and that was a time when this tin was very important, because when mixed with copper, it created bronze. And bronze was hugely important, particularly to the Romans and elsewhere around the world as well. So he was there going to Cornwall on a regular basis, where he'd take Jesus and the rest of it. Now, that's where he met the Druids. So that's where Joseph of Arimathea spent a lot of time with the Druids. He owned businesses in England, and he was a constant visitor over there, and his ships would take the tin around the world. Now, what really interested me is that the Phoenicians were a race that were also to believed to be originally from Atlantis. Phoenicians means red-headed man because they were typically tall, pale, red-headed, and pale skin and blue eyes, right? Which is and given the fact that a vast majority of the Phoenicians' activities was actually within the Mediterranean in the Middle East, now that is not a typical Middle Eastern look, right? So you can't imagine that's kind of their natural home. But interestingly, the Celts, when you think about the Celts, when particularly now you think about say Scotland and Ireland in particular, there are a lot of red-headed, blue-eyed, pale-skinned people, and in England as well. Now they could well be descendants from those original Phoenicians who were and the Phoenicians were amazing. They were merchants, and again they had a huge amount of exporting around the world, and they also had another thing where what they would do, they didn't same way they also encouraged people to have no fixed doctrine. But what they would do is share all about cultures. They would share all about different religious practices. So they never had anything fixed, but wherever they went, all around, in fact, it was said that they were the ones who created much of the culture in the Mediterranean because of their education process. Wherever they would go, they would just share information freely, and then people would take of it what they wished. So the Phoenicians, I believe, were also from Atlantis, but I'm not saying that that was another name for the Kaloo, because there was a huge difference there, which is that the Kaloo were very secretive and they moved around. They didn't ever stop in one fixed place, whereas the Phoenicians were traders. So I do think they came from the same place. I think they all had these very elevated philosophies of, individuated expressions of consciousness being allowed to find their own way. But yeah, that link to the Phoenicians, because the Phoenicians were also experts in metallurgy, so they knew 4,000 years BCE, it was believed that the Phoenicians were in Cornwall extracting tin. Now, they obviously already knew that tin, this metal that nobody had an interest in, once mixed with copper, created bronze, of which there were enormous uses. So they obviously had advanced metallurgy. They had all these advanced knowledge, which again harks back to the Atlantis thing. So I just find that really interesting. But as I say, I'm not trying to present this as Phoenicians being the Kaloo, because I do think they were completely separate. But we also hear that, again, from Daniel, that there were many races of people within Atlantis. And I believe there were extraterrestrial races as well as, the humans at the time, and different versions of humans as well. So I don't know. But again, coming back to the important message of that, we're all children of the light, regardless of the direction we take, which means that we don't fall into judgment, because these are our brothers and sisters of the light that are choosing a different path. And that's the right path for them at this point. And it could be that they are creating the darkness, which that shadow allows the light to get brighter. So there are those that have to more or less take that path in order to create the opportunity for further light to exist. And forgiveness and love are the way back to the light. Again, we mentioned that earlier. I think it's so important. And at that point, I am going to shut up, because I think we need to bring Jolé back in.
Well, that is very true, John. Forgiveness, and love and compassion are the way back to the light. And that segues right into what I was thinking about while you're talking, which is some of the programming that we've experienced. And we really kind of letting go of the past is letting go of some of that, some of the traditions and the customs that put bacteria and virus into the religious programming, or the religious beauty, actually, that we were given, the truth. Religion had integrity back in the day, because why? Because it allowed for people to expand. It didn't just focus on revelations. And so what I'm trying to say is we've collectively and individually have to work out our viewpoint of the creator. Is the creator love, light, compassion, forgiveness, like Yeshua and the Essenes spoke about? Or is this vengeance is mine? This causes dissonance within us. And this is the root of the bipolar mental illness that we are all suffering from or experiencing around us. If we work out our relationship with the Creator and we find the Creator and we make it a safe space for us, then that really translates into the rest of our lives, because you're like, no, I love myself. I take care of myself. I love other people. Like, you're moving in a way that speaks to the light. But if there's this constant tit for tat and revenge, and I must get mine back, and you did this to me, now I'm going to do this to you, and I'm going to play games and manipulate and gaslight, and all these words that are now in our lexicon, empathetic and narcissistic judgments, right? John, labels. Let's move all of that away. And like I said, work to create and make the Creator a safe space for us to be. That's loving, that's kind, that's welcoming, that's supportive. Because what does that do? That gets into the cells. And then that's who we become. And boom, automatically we are at a high vibration and frequency, which is aligning us to that. And those things that anchor us and keep us from moving in a quantum way begin to fall away. So it's always an inside job at the end of the day. And then once we start moving externally, it is to share that joy. It is to share that love. And if we're unable to bring that at the time, it's possible to light the way. But if not, then, go in your shed, work it out, and then come back out when you can spread that joy.
Yeah. Wisdom encapsulated right there, Jolé. That, is a really good point, because so many of us, we have been programmed and conditioned for so many decades. Just to be able to loosen the shackles of that off in a brief moment by saying, yes, I'll do that, then I'll just cut the cords. And it's not that easy, right? Because
Right.
things are deep rooted. So to your
Yeah.
point, it's a work in progress. It's something that we have to work at. And, that's the reason we came here, because we wanted
Right.
the challenge.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it doesn't make it easy.
It doesn't. And, watch out, because you can see, um, especially what we're consuming in our eyes and our ears and even in our bodies, speak to us betraying ourselves, betraying our wellness, betraying our self-love. We're so afraid to be ourselves. There was this article I read about corporations are having problems with creativity because employees don't want to speak up, because they're automatically, if you're wrong, there's no space to be wrong, or to be incorrect, however you want to look at it, or to go against the grain. But sometimes that going against the grain, it creates sharpness, it creates creativity. It is the stuff, it is the fertilizer, right? So let's give people the space to be wrong. I didn't say dangerous. I said wrong. I said, incorrect, or needing a little bit of correction. Because, like I spoke about, when that person speaks of, I'm one of the 12 and I'm stepping, they might face plant, right? They might be in their ego. But when they do that, we don't want to point and laugh as much as pick them up and say, it's obvious you have more to learn. So why don't we learn that? So,
Yeah.
that's a whole different vibration than pointing and laughing. And that's kind of where we are. So just a step at a time to fight against, your authenticity being weaponized against you. Just continue to be authentic and have God and joy at the forefront.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that. I love that. I think that really does work. And don't beat yourselves up, everybody, because
Yes,
we've spent so long on this journey being given the wrong information,
correct.
or
Yes,
whether it's religious doctrine that is taking us in a certain direction which is not for our higher good, or whether it's other things that are out there, as you say, because we can consume anything from the media these days, or there's the video games and stuff like that,
yeah,
it really desensitizes us to the reality. But again, all part of the test, all part of the reason we came here. So
yeah,
that's our journey.
yes.
Yeah.
Amen.
There you go. There you go. So just wanted to mention a couple of things, actually. The moon alchemy thing, which is going really well. We've got it there for a bunch of people at the moment working. Got some on the cutting room floor at the moment, which will be issued in the next day or so. And we had a real success as well. One of the ladies that took this a couple of weeks ago, And well, what can you say? It's a success of the most awesome kind because her new reality will be delivered in about 9 months. So
Yes,
she is creating her new reality, and it really worked. And congratulations to her. Um,
yes,
I'm not going to name her because obviously it's these things are very private, but
yeah,
nevertheless, delighted it happened as quickly as it did. And this is, but I do believe this really works because what we're doing, we're creating these meditations where we're putting our vision for our perfect future, our world of unspeakable beauty, and you're embedding it within this meditation for you to listen to. It's a private video. You get to listen to it as many times as you want, but you're using the moon cycles, the energy of the moon. You're going back to the old Gnostic traditions. And the reason we're no longer in the Gnostic traditions is because the Gnostic traditions are very powerful. And part of the programming and conditioning was taking us away from swimming with the tide because they want us from, but the
yes,
controllers have wanted us swimming into the tide rather than with it. So it's kind of the way it works, and we instruct all the way through it. If anybody ever has any interest, then drop me an email to johndrew@elevatedplanet.life. But it's got a couple of wonderful Jolé meditations that go with that. But you have your piece sandwiched in the middle, and it's so moving. Jolé and I, we're doing this
yeah,
say once a
yeah,
day. It's more than once a day for
yeah,
our vision for Elevated Planet. It's fantastic. I love it. I love
yeah. And
it.
it's such a good feeling, John. More than anything, I'm finding when your subconscious hears your own voice, there's sort of this grounding in your cells of you've got this, you can do this, you belong here. And that's such a powerful gift to give yourself.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And you're right. I mean, when I'm going through the meditation, I just have this biggest, most stupid grin on my face for the entire duration of it. It just
Yeah.
makes me happy, very, very happy. So, yeah, it's anybody interested, John Drew at elevatedplanet.life, and I can provide you more details and you can see if it's of interest to you. Also, say don't go through the website because that is under construction at the moment. We will be renewing a new website which is going to have lots of exciting features on there, which is going to be fit for purpose. But for now, elevatedplanet.life is jacked up in the garage at the moment, being seen to
Yes.
as we work our way through it. Okay, so what do you reckon then, Jolé? Should we hit the button now for meditation time?
Yes. Yes. Let's move on.
Very cool. Okay, everybody, we're going to go back and again a little bit of Daniel Ben-Ezra wisdom to just take us into Jolé's words of wisdom. So bear with me a second. Here we go.
I see all human beings as children of the light, sons and daughters of God. Some have chosen to move away from the light and become sons of darkness, but this is only for a moment or two in the eternity of God. When these sons of darkness turn again to the light, they will fulfill their destiny as children of the light, and love and peace will embrace them as surely as it embraces each and every one of us. God never turns away and rejects us, even if we choose to turn our faces from the light. And when we return to the light, there is great rejoicing amongst the angels.
Take a deep breath in. Exhale. Bring your awareness to your chest. Feel the love in your heart and command a portal from your heart to the center of your head open. As you ground your energy into Mother Earth, visualizing a grounding cord between your sit bones of a natural earth element, moving through the layers of Mother Earth and rooting itself in her core. As you breathe with the rhythm of your body, your heartbeat syncs up with your breath. Your aura is 1.5 feet around you, Your astral body is snapped in. Your higher self stands at the power position, a comfortable distance above your crown. And now your feet chakras open like the lens of a camera. As you call in 15% earth energy of a color that resonates with you. Is it green for grounding, unconditional love, heart-centered energy? Is it red for fire and movement, creation of new land, new experiences? Is it creativity, an orange color you're bringing in? Like that monarch butterfly in its chrysalis as it begins its journey towards a finished project? Or do you need to step into your power? Do you benefit by owning what and who you are and speaking it into existence with integrity, with that indigo blue color? All of these colors of the rainbow can mix in to create what is known as joy and amusement. Because when you're sitting in the truth of who you are and you're allowing for this energy and this groundedness to move through your body and your cells, there's so much more magic. As your body says, I'm ready, and your crown opens, and that 85% cosmic gold life force energy comes cascading down from the heavens, raining down. Your higher self puts out its hands, and it just feels this beautiful warmth from the universe, from the divine, Pleroma, the creator of all that is, as it then moves down into your crown and saturating and marinating your brain, integrating the right and the left hemisphere, the masculine and the feminine. The corpus callosum is only physical. In the spiritual realm, it's all integrated as it moves into that prefrontal cortex, moving out the worry, doubt, and fear created by the past, as it cleans out the calcification in the center of the head. It opens up the pituitary, the pineal gland, bringing wellness into the endocrine and the lymphatic system, going into that DNA, reprogramming it for wellness, for a high frequency and vibration built on ancient knowledge and wisdom, as it then moves down into your throat, balancing those hormones, bringing truth into the words that you speak, authenticity as this energy then travels down into the heart, bringing so much unconditional love, so much so the double doors of your heart open and love just begins to pour out into your aura layer as that energy and love then moves down into your power, giving you permission to be who you are, harming no one and nothing, because your creative energy is built on a foundation of unconditional love and unspeakable beauty, which makes it safe for you to be here, for that energy to move through your body, for you to guide and lead yourself and others to spaces and places where they are powerful, where they are loved, where they are worthy, where they are supported, where we are all connected in this web of love. As you allow for this earth energy and this cosmic divine life force energy to meet. And then it begins to fill you up like water fills up a cup, bringing this joy and amusement into every cell and atom of your body. As this love and this joy and this beauty begin to sprout out of your feet, hands, and crown chakra, filling up your aura layers, lighting up the messages from the angels, from the Kaloo, activating you into that place of remembering. Sit in your heart and love yourself. Accept who and what you are so that your intuition can resonate. with what works for you, with what is going to lead and guide you to your purpose. So as you breathe with the rhythm of your body, and this 15% earth, and this 85% cosmic, the earth is of a color that resonates with you. Those golden rose-shaped scrubbing bubbles have blanketed the inside and the outside of your grounding cord, cleaning off any disease, any illness, anything you are ready to let go of and release. Your aura layer is being freed of any of the behaviors, the programming. Your chakras are being cleared of those programs, any viruses and bacteria of negative thoughts, limiting beliefs. Compulsory addictive behaviors are moving down the grounding cord, being filled up with that newness, but waking up the divine remembering as your masters and your guides become clear, and those archangels that are working with you. Take a moment and connect. Ask for what you want from a state of a wish fulfilled. As you breathe with the rhythm of your body and see yourself there, living a life of unspeakable beauty, being guided by your masters, your angels, your guides, all here for your benefit. You are worthy and deserving. The creator of all that is a safe space for you to ask for what you want. Remove that middleman and allow for your higher self to communicate. Show your masters and your guides and your angels your purpose, the value that you are adding to your life and the lives of others. See it grow exponentially and connect with that web of love and just grow and expand. And as you look upon your fellow man, you see them and you say, there's so much greatness in you. There's so much greatness in you. There's so much greatness in you. I want to see that greatness shine out into the world and back to you. And say to yourself, there's so much greatness in me. There's so much greatness in me. There's so much greatness in me. And that greatness shines out into the world and it comes back to me. And feel what that feels like. To know that you are just divine and yoked as you take the hands of other divinely yoked people of a high vibration and frequency, whose double doors of their heart are open, connecting with that web of love, sitting in their purpose, aligned with the laws of the universe, resonating with so much unspeakable beauty and unconditional love. As all of the boundaries dissolve and everything is everything. It's unconditional love and unspeakable beauty is all that exists. As you breathe with the rhythm of your body in this knowingness, allow for this vision and this reality to infiltrate and integrate every atom and cell of your being, bringing so much wellness. As disease and illness leave, and there's a beautiful golden sun above your head. All your energy has been called back. All of your blessings and gifts are placed in this golden sun above your head. Everything you lost has been restored back into that golden sun. As your higher self reaches up and grabs it, brings it down through itself, as it moves through that cascading 85% gold light into your crown, as it moves down all throughout your body, mixing in with that earth and that cosmic divine, moving out into your aura layer, going down that grounding cord, chasing those golden rose-shaped scrubbing bubbles into the core of Mother Earth, giving her the excess with so much gratitude as that light just beams throughout your body and your aura layer and into your environment. As you take a deep breath in, and on the exhale, you're just so relaxed and rooted as all of this energy settles in. And you sit in the center of your chest and take another deep breath in. And on the exhale, see your crown closing like the lens of a camera as that cosmic gold life force energy, the essence of pleroma, ascends back just above your higher self, you having access to it at any time. And as you take another deep breath in with the rhythm of your body, on the exhale, your feet and your hand chakras close like the lens of a camera, and all of that creative energy and action settle in your core and your arms and your legs. But that love is still pouring out of your heart into your aura and your environment as you take another deep breath in. And on the exhale, gently close the doors of your heart and you can open your eyes.
Beautiful. Empowering was the word that came to mind. I thought that was beautiful. You know,
Yes.
there is so much greatness in me to kind of just sort of like take that forward as an idea and just keep to ingrain that. And the other thing that
Mhm.
really came to me when we were going through the meditation that flashed through, we're all, each of us is a team. Sometimes we
Yes.
feel alone, but we're never
Yeah.
alone.
No.
We may be spearheading this journey, but we have a team behind us, to your point, because like we are so worthy that
Yeah.
we are here spearheading it, but we have an entire team behind us supporting us.
Yes. Connect with your team. It's okay. Like, we have been taught that the voices we hear in our head are crazy. Oh, don't answer back. You hear all of these things that suppress the divine within you. Let me tell you something. Neil Donald Walsh was onto something, but he's not the only one that talks to God. He's the only one that had the courage to tell you about it. Every single one of us are crystal children, are children of light. We are connected to the divine. Those voices that you hear leading and guiding you, take them seriously at times, especially if they're for your highest good, and work to work out those viruses and parasites that don't belong to you, because those are the ones that don't belong to you.
Mm.
And it's true. Just work with your meditation, your gold light, and get rid of that energy. It works. Prayer works. Any other way, you say, I pray. That's just what I'm doing in a meditation is I'm praying. It's all that it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And it all comes back to that thing again, which you say, which is it's an inside job, right?
Yes, yes,
Yeah. Whichever route you take to go inside to kind of connect with who you really are, on a higher level. Again, I keep coming back to this again, but RJ Spino said like only 2.5% of your consciousness can come actually into the physical vessel. The rest of it, 97.5% sits outside you because the physical vessel isn't designed to take that level of soul energy. So if you don't ever reach out, and many people don't because they don't realize, then you are leaving a lot of you just ignore your
yes,
team because you don't know any better, right?
right.
Nobody's fault. You just don't know. But
Yes.
it's an inside job.
Yeah. And that's interesting. You leave a lot on the table when you only take into consideration the tangible.
Yeah, yeah. And again, I've got something here which I do quite look at quite regularly from Merlin. In fact, let me just read a little section of this because it's always fun to read this. Yeah, he's saying that you should always have fun. Don't put pressure on yourself. Have fun. Reality is a playground if you give yourself permission to play in it. I'm talking here about the visible and the invisible. You are connected by a body on this planet, but you don't have to remain confined to it.
There you go.
Merlin. Thank you, Merlin. He's a very wise man. A very wise consciousness that I think we can all lean into a little. Anyway, okay, so we're now going to do wrap up mode, right?
That's right.
Okay, so newsletter goes out tomorrow, but we have got a slight change of format. Now, typically what I've done, tidied it up a bit, removed the grey bars that we get whenever we're switching screens and all the rest of it. But what I'm going to do this time is leave the live as the full live version. Okay, it'll be snipped down a bit just so it's a little bit more coherent. But then what Jolé and I will be doing, we'll be taking sections and publishing sections of powerful statements that really reinforce the message of each show. And it might mean you're going to get a 7-minute video instead. And to add to that, there's another section which was 8 minutes long and another which was 12 and then 3 minutes. It's just kind of taking it and making it into those bite-sized portions which are easier to digest and also more repeatable. So I think that this is really something that one of our team kind of mentioned it actually just last week. Armin, our friend who helps us with so much of the stuff that we're doing, it was his suggestion, and I thought, yeah, that does make total sense because it just gives people a chance. Because if you have a 1 hour 15-minute show, it's a big time commitment in this day and
Yeah.
age. So to have the opportunity to take bite-sized chunks out of this, and it's all going to be on the Elevated Planet channel. So if you're not subscribed, please subscribe to our channel and you will see all the videos as they come up and you can take each section. And if I get a chance, I'll always enhance that 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 7 minutes with any other messages that came through. So that's going to be another change, as well as not having access to the website for the moment. So any messages for Jolé, any messages for me, come through my email in the first instance, which is johndrew@elevatedplanet.life, and we will respond to you for sure. And that includes Moon Alchemy, as well as any thoughts or questions or observations that you might wish to share, as well as obviously being able to put stuff in the comments below. But I know that that's not necessarily the forum for anything more personal. So there you go. That's it. That's where we're doing it. So anything else, Jolé?
Yeah, as always, we just would like for you to like, share, and subscribe and get the message out so more of us become enlightened and illuminated and empowered. And we're just so grateful that you join us. And we would really love to increase the amount of people that have access to this information. So if you could share it, because it helps us and it helps the universe, humanity.
Yes, it does indeed. Yeah, and thank you everybody for the comments today. Really appreciated. Kelly said a big thank you to you, Jolé, for the meditation. She loved the meditation.
Thank you. My pleasure.
And I think that's it, really. I think that's got us set on our journey home to the light, as we set out to do. And, as Jolé says, share this stuff because, those who are ready to hear it need the opportunity to hear this stuff. And, I mean, we're leaning into some amazing information right now, and there's more to come. And, we're all learning together on the journey. So fantastic. Okay. Thank you, Jolé.
Thank you, John.
Thank you to the community. As always, we love you to bits, and we will be back on Thursday with the Pam Gregory meditation for those who can join us. If anybody wants to go onto our distribution list to see these things on the emails, then that's also johndrew@elevatedplanet.life. And that's it, really, I think, till Thursday. Okay. All right.
Bye. Thank you.
Take care. Have a fun time.